Rise, Harley Quinn.
Y'all ready to hand Gordon his and show him once and for all that Harley Quinn is the baddest villain of all?
I am rock right now.
That's nasty.
Hey there, I'm Geoff Johns, co-creator of Stargirl and executive producer of the show. Join me on DC Daily with the crew.
Hello everyone and welcome to DC Daily. I'm Clark Wolf and today I'm joined by Hector Navarro and Whitney Moore.
Hey buddies, what's
Hi.
up?
Hi.
So good to see you all, per usual. We took yesterday off for Memorial Day, so how did you all spend your long weekend?
Oh, I spent my weekend watching 1990 Flash, just the whole thing. Just soaking in that old OG Flash.
I had a nice change of scenery because my friend went to a cabin and so I watched his guinea pig and he has a pool. So we had almost a weekend away without really leaving.
Oh my god, I love a staycation. Snap,
Yes.
snap.
Did you make a little pool for the guinea pig so that you guys could both be in separate pools?
You know I did.
Oh, you're so considerate. Yeah, Rufus and I just ate ice cream all weekend. So we would have done that anyway. That wasn't because we had a long weekend, but you know. Before we get into the fun, here's a look at what's on deck this week on DC Daily. All right, gang, we didn't do our Harley Quinn episode recap yesterday because of the holiday, so we'll get to that later in the show. But first, Stargirl episode 2 just aired, and we are loving it so far. Whit, you and Amy are sitting down with Geoff Johns to talk about the first 2 episodes, yes?
Yes, I am so excited. I already got to talk to Breck, and I want to talk to every single person who works on this show because it's so great, and I'm so excited to talk to Geoff, man. It's going to be a really good time.
Love it. Well, let's check it out.
Hey, it's Amy and Whitney, and today we are joined by Stargirl co-creator and executive producer, Geoff Johns. Welcome to the show, Geoff!
Hey guys, thanks. Great to be here.
Well, Stargirl is now on DC Universe and the CW. Congratulations. What is it like seeing her take center stage and get her own show?
You know, it's a dream come true as obviously one of the creators of the character. It was the first character I ever wrote when I first started comic books, and the first series I ever wrote, Stars and Stripe. A lot of the show's based on that and reflects that, and the JSA, which has had such a great history of creators on those books too. James Robinson, one of the major writers and producers on the show, wrote Starman, the famous Starman, and JSA, and it's just awesome to see the character come to life like this and tap into, a corner of the DC universe that I think is so rich and wonderful and historic, but that hasn't really been used a lot. But yeah, it's a dream come true. It's really, really fun. And Brooke Bassinger is she's amazing. She brings that character to life for me, and that's the greatest dream.
That's fantastic. So the characters are great, the costume is great, but we got to talk about the cosmic staff. How was that brought to life? It's so cool.
Cosmic staff is really, really cool. One of the aspects that we put in the show that wasn't originally in the comic books was this personality, and it made it much more fun. It's this animate object that has its own wants and desires and needs, and reacts emotionally to Courtney. There's a bit of a psychic bond between these two that is formed once it chooses her. And we explore that throughout the season. But I think a big part of the joy and fun of the show is that the staff has a relationship with Stargirl.
It definitely hits a lot of comedy beats and adds some levity to some of the scarier parts. And in the first 2 episodes, so much happens. Oh my gosh. We get to see scary stuff. It's exciting. What I love about it is that it sets up a lot of the lore. Do we get to see more of the JSA in future episodes?
You do get to see the JSA in future episodes, both the new JSA and some of the older characters. We delve more into who they were, obviously what their legacies mean, their powers, how they use them. There's a really interesting dynamic between, I think, Pat and Rick, who is played by Cameron Gelman, and he's kind of this from the wrong side of the tracks kid who ends up with I won't want to spoil it, ends up with the hourglass and this hour of power, and his attitude about it is very, very different than our man's was. And there's a really interesting story about between him and Pat and what he wants to do with it, and what the JSA means. That's a little bit in conflict. But exploring all these legacies, it's not just about the costumes and the powers. It's about who these people were, what the legacy means, and how to carry it on. We've tried to really honor and bring out the best in the comics and the lore and put it on the screen.
That's it for the good guy side of things. What about the scary side of things? So, for instance, Icicle. He's terrifying. How much trouble is Courtney in right now?
She's in a lot of trouble. I mean, Icicle is someone who obviously and clearly, you will see soon, will do anything to get what he wants. And what he wants, he just is justified in his head. Like you watch what he went through and why he does what he does, and you understand him at the very least if you don't agree with what he's doing. He's terrifying. I think Brainwave is a very, very, very frightening figure, and we get much more into him and his son Henry as the season progresses. That's a storyline that's, I think, really compelling. I'm excited for people to see that. And then we'll have Solomon Grundy, which you got a glimpse of in the opening. We tried to do it true to comics, Solomon Grundy. But his presence will play a specific role in one of the JSA members. And his story will be intertwined with that character.
I got so excited when I saw Solomon Grundy. He is a fave of mine, and I'm so excited to see more of him. Well, Geoff, do you have any Stargirl art or props that you can show us?
Oh my God.
Trying to get some of that Cribs action.
Well, hold on a second. I do. I actually have, hold on. I'll get one thing. I have an original piece of art. It's on the other side of my house, so I'd have to go get it, but I'm happy to. But Mike Waringo drew it. And he's an unbelievable artist, passed away way too soon. But he drew one of the first illustrations of Stargirl that I actually used on the proposal for it. And I have it framed up in a room, and no one's ever seen it, so I can get that. But I'll get something else really quick.
Yes, please.
Please, yes.
So I've got this.
What?
It is one of the staffs. Most of the time, I'd say 90% of the time, obviously the staff is either completely CGI or enhanced. But there are a few staffs that were actually made, and it's pretty detailed, as you can see.
Oh, wow. It's beautiful.
And it's really got this wonderful antique metal look to it. But it's a gorgeous, it's just gorgeous. Like all these intricate designs here.
Wow.
This is the artwork.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful.
That's not great, but it's a little bit of a better look.
That is so cool.
Oh, it's so perfect.
But he's such an amazing artist. Like Mike is just, he was wonderful, but he was a friend of mine, and he did this just gorgeous. It's just a gorgeous image. It's one of my absolute favorites, but it was literally one of the very first drawings of Stargirl that was ever done before the book came out.
It's beautiful. Thank you for showing us.
So we've seen the first 2 episodes of Stargirl. What can we expect in number 3?
Number 3, you're going to expect a lot more JSA stuff as things get a little bit more serious. Courtney deals with a reluctant sidekick and partner in Stripe, and they come up and face Icicle. So they'll go up to the top of the list, top of the food chain with him. And I don't want to spoil what happens, but Courtney might be in overhead a little bit.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today,
Thanks,
Geoff. I
guys.
hope we earned our stripes.
You did. You earned your stars and stripes, and I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about this show. It's been a long time in the making, and I'm glad it's going to finally be seen by the audience.
The rest of you out there, be sure to catch Stargirl here first every Monday on DC Universe. Very, very cool. All right, let's get into Harley Quinn, Episode 8, Inner Parademons. They are not slowing down. We're about halfway through the season, and last week's episode was intense, to say the least.
We didn't get to talk about that, but they kissed. They kissed at the end of the episode.
Secret option number 3!
I may or may not have woken up my neighbors with how loud I screamed when they kissed.
Oh my gosh. So, we'll get to that in a little bit. But before the ramifications of last week's episode come into play, let's talk about Harley. Harley's on a war path, y'all. This episode, I feel like, was like a Stefan on SNL. It had everything. It has granny goodness. It has apocalypse. It has love triangles. But what did you guys think? Like, what did you think about Harley's newfound, like, I guess, I don't know, she's on like a rage mission.
I love that to have Harley Quinn be on a rage mission doesn't feel out of the question for a character like Harley Quinn, because she's a supervillain typically. She is somebody who engages in crazy comic book shenanigans. But the show decides to explain that by going, she's overcompensating for the fact that this thing happened between her and Poison Ivy that they're not going to talk about and be honest. So that's why she's getting into crazy comic book shenanigans. I love that. I thought it was brilliant.
Dude, so good. And I flipped out when we got to see Granny Goodness, seeing them duke it out. I got kind of sad because I was like, man, it would have been so cool to have Comic-Con this year and see all of the cosplays of that sick costume.
Yes.
Because when she gets that staff, when she beats Granny Goodness and she dresses up, I was like, man, I want to see that in real life.
Listen,
but there's still hope.
Our buddy Sam Humphries isn't here, but I know that Sam would be stoked to see some of the work that he's done clearly being homaged, clearly being, the inspiration for where they took Harley in this episode. I thought that was awesome. It was crazy that Mr. Miracle was in this. Did he die? Is he dead?
Good question.
I don't know. And we got to mention the voice of Granny Goodness is Jessica Walter. People, come on. Her and Dr. Psycho, Tony Hale, they had some kind of a connection in a previous life. And then I also love this, being a huge DC animation fan, whenever I read a comic book, I hear a specific voice if I'm reading Darkseid in a comic, and that voice goes back to Superman the animated series all the way through Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, and it's Michael Ironside, and they got Michael Ironside for Darkseid, y'all. Come on.
That was so great.
So good. And such a good catch, Hector. I feel like you're always the one that gets those deep cuts.
At first I was like, there's no way they got Michael Ironside, but they got somebody to do a really good impression of Michael Ironside. Like, that's what I thought
Alan
it was.
Tudyk is so good at his Michael Ironside impression.
Yeah.
And so Gordon obviously is going after Harley. Love a Jim Gordon. Anytime we can get some Jim Gordon, I'm on board. But, in the end, Ivy talks Harley out of this evil plan, which leads us to Ivy. Ivy is kind of front and center in this episode. It's a big day. Ivy is meeting Kite Man's parents. So which is just, it's so great.
Dude, they're just ripping on him the whole time. It's so funny.
They were already, like, characters that I loved to hate. And then they revealed that they had superpowers, and it was like no big deal. It's like, I control the power of ice. And she's like, and I harness the ability of flight. And I'm like, no wonder Kite Man is the way that he is. He's the worst character ever because he has to try to live up to these people who have put so much I mean, it's all just relatable. I'm saying this stuff and I'm talking about our parents. I'm talking about other people's terrible parents. I'm talking about stuff that we're familiar with dealing with, and to put it into the backdrop of this, again, superhero comic book shenanigans show, I thought it was great. I thought they were so good. And yeah, again, another episode where I'm like, man, I feel for Kite Man. I'm rooting for him, but I want him out of the way, but I want him to be happy, but I want, I don't know. It's crazy.
That's what's so wild to me is that this show is doing an incredible job of really making me invested in Ivy and Kite Man's relationship. I mean, I get that he sort of started as like a little bit of a jump off, a little bit of a little booty call for Ivy. That's cool. You get it. But like, I really and truly feel from Lake Bell's performance, from the writing, like Ivy seems to really love Kite Man, and yet we have this big question between her and Harley that was left at the end of the last episode. So what do you guys think? I mean, do you think that they're actually over their kiss? Do you think, like, what's gonna happen?
Well, to your point, Clark, I think I think it's good that Sam Levine is not on this panel, but I'm going to say just to you guys, I think he was right. I'm eating my words a little bit, but don't let Sam know that I think he was right.
Do not worry. We will never tell him.
I think that they have to talk about it.
Yeah.
If the question is Kite Man a good dude? The answer to that is yes. But
yes.
And especially, well, he's a good dude, but he's a flawed dude, the same way that Poison Ivy is. And the way that she summed up, no, he's not lucky to have me, I'm lucky to have him. And she broke down the great qualities about him despite his flaws, and they're both flawed people. That, again, made me really root for them. And I'm like, man, it's true. Kite Man's like a really solid dude. But if the question is, are Harley and Ivy over the kiss? The answer is, absolutely no way in the Jose are they over that kiss. No.
I think that they're going to, if we're talking predictions, I think that they're going to get to a place where they can talk about it. But I don't think that Ivy and Kite Man's love is in jeopardy. I think that I don't know, maybe a threesome.
You know what?
Secret option number 3. They all kiss.
I had not even considered that option.
It's a tough one. I mean, again, like we are about halfway through the season, and if all of our television watching has taught us anything, if you get a couple together and you get invested in them, guess what's going to happen? Gotta break them up. So I would be sad. It's like I'm so conflicted because I would be sincerely and genuinely sad if Kite Man and Ivy broke up. But also, there is obviously something very substantial and real between Harley and Ivy, maybe in a romantic sense, as the show is sort of alluding to. So I don't know, you guys. Alrighty, friends, let's wrap it up for today. This has been so fun. I'm so glad that we got a chance to not only talk about Harley Quinn, but Stargirl. Thank you to Geoff Johns. This is so cool. It's great to see you guys as always. And for you at home, we will see you next time. Bye.